Crowd Compass, and welcome to Innovation in Motion. Just a sound check. How does the sound? Everyone can hear me through the echo chamber? All right. Thumbs up in the background. Innovation in Motion is a monthly thought leader gathering. We focus on online innovation and interactive marketing. Today's topic is digital leads and deal closers. And in a moment I'll be introing the guests, and you'll know who is the digital lead and who is the person who makes the deals close. Just a couple announcements. Starting out, we'd like to thank the fact that we have live stream and videoing from Paul Collette. Paul's right there. Paul, thank you very much. Quick round of applause for Paul. Paul does a great job of videoing and live streams it every month if you ever want to sit home and watch it live as well. Also want to thank Crowd Compass for the new space here. We moved from downtown to southeast in the Crowd Compass office. And who's sponsoring the meetup is the Crowd Compass Hiring Committee. I think Dave would like to say a word.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks, and welcome to our new space. Crowd Compass makes apps for conferences. So we're focused on making conferences more popular through mobile. And we're looking for marketing, operations managers, lead gen people, and sales executives, and freelance copywriters.
Great. Crowd Compass is hiring, and if you want to see all of the job descriptions on the meetup page, meetup.com/innovation in motion. And this night was digital leads and deal closers. All the jobs and links are posted right there on the page. And just lastly, if you're tweeting out using the hashtag InPDX. So what I'd like to do is just do a quick introduction of the speakers before they go into a little bit more in-depth discussion. We're going to just take a quick drawing here for the tennis racket. So to, let's see, on the far end, we're going to come back. We have Bill Kent. Bill, you want to raise your hand? Bill is the marketing program specialist at Axium. Next to him is Troy O'Brien. Troy is the CEO of Response Capture. And sitting to my right is Scott Campbell. Scott is the VP of Sales for Public Labs. Can I just see a quick show of hands of how many people put in for the drawing here tonight? For the tennis racket. Okay, so if you put in for the drawing, you have a 25% chance of winning. This is probably the best odds of your life. Now, we did this as a little case study here, just to kind of get warmed up. There's actually no company called Rackets R Us, and that is a really crappy racket from my garage, but I am going to be handing this out tonight. But just as a little test run, what I'd like to do is find out about the market here, because if Scott was going to try and close a sale based off of these small leads, what I want to do is find out what is the actual market at. So first I'm going to start with the big picture guy, Troy from Response Capture. Troy, what is going on here with the market potential of for Rackets R Us, who wants to sell more rackets?
We don't run into any sort of Crowd Compass innovation in motion trade shows anymore because our audience is not in here at all. For those that were, we got 5%. We want to know why you put your name in that drawing. What was kind of your demographic, those kind of things, and see, is there more of you somewhere else? Because it's not at this venue. And so we really need to find out where do we find more like that. So persona work to say, age, income, all that kind of stuff, to say, where can we find more buyers like that? So Scott has some better things to follow up on versus the crowd in here.
But before Scott gets these leads, so you have a 5%, right, who put in this. You need more. You need more people like this. So you're going to find out who are these people, what's their information. And one thing you mentioned is you want to know name, you want to know age and demographic. So that's where I would hand it to Bill, who would then have to pick a couple strategies, digital strategies, to suck more information out of these leads. Bill, how are you going to do that?
Well, let's assume we had more of them and we needed to sift through a good portion of them to try to figure out, all right, is there anybody in here that might actually buy a tennis racket from us? Are there any tennis players? Is there somebody who's a member of a tennis club? And most likely we have some historical data of the type of people who buy tennis rackets from us. So we're going to use that to look at our customer profiles, our buyer profiles, and say, okay, what else do we need to know about these people to figure out they fit in those profiles? So, for example, we do campaigns sometimes where there's one piece of information, once we know it, we know exactly how to approach those people from a sales and marketing standpoint, and we know they're our target, and if they're not, we don't even bother our salespeople with them at all. So we could, for example, use an email campaign and push that out to them, and our form might be very small. It might just have some pre-filled information of the stuff we already know, their name, their email address. We might ask them one question, how old are you? Whatever that bit of information is, we really need to know. And based on that, are you a member of a tennis club? And if they are, then we know that these are somebody you might actually want to, pass over our sales team and have them work with.
So if you did that, you're going to get what? 5% response back? So this list just went to this list. So now we got the guy who closes the deals. Now Scott, you can either I have a list of everyone in this room, their names and emails. I have the people from the drawing, and I have the 2%, right? That Bill's going to get more information on. You can have the whole list, the drawing, or this one gold mine that got qualified. Which one would you take?
Good question. I guess my initial reaction is that if you love to play tennis, you shouldn't be living in Oregon in the first place. Everybody that did not put their hand in or put their card in the bucket. So it indicates a certain level of decision-making quality skill as part of the prospect.
All right.
But no, I'm just kidding, of course. But I would definitely go, obviously in this case, I would go for the entire list. You'd have to. Whenever selling something, you have to consider the cost of sale. And the cost of selling a tennis racket, in this case, would not be that high. And so you might as well go with quantity over quality, as opposed to selling a $100,000 piece of equipment, where you needed to involve 6 or 7 people within your company to respond to RFPs, to put together detailed product specifications, get on the phone and do product demonstrations and all that sort of stuff. That is a much higher cost of sale. And therefore, if I was in that type of model, I would certainly choose the higher qualified leads, the leads where they did in fact put the business card in the bucket.
So you don't always go for the most, sometimes you need the quantity.
Sometimes you need the quantity.
All right, I like it. So that was a little setup of our speakers tonight, and so with that, we're actually going to jump in a little bit of introductions to just, drill down a little bit more. So if you go to the next slide, Misty. Bill, I think you're up. And we already passed it, so we're ahead of the game here. So let's jump to the next slide. Bill, you want to talk just a little bit, just one slide, and just talk a little bit about what you do in your company?
Sure. My job is mostly campaign related, so I'm kind of the guy on the side that does the strategy for how we're going to drive leads and revenue. So work with the sales team very closely, set kind of what percentage of the leads and the revenue are we going to drive, and then what tactics are we going to take to ultimately get there. So we look at all the different channels, we look at some historicals, we look at our data set, say, okay, we think that we can do this much through email or telemarketing or all the different things, and then see if there's a gap that we need to shore up in some way. Axium itself sells to a pretty niche market, just architecture and engineering firms, and we have a financial and project management platform.
Great. Excellent. We have Troy from Response Capture.
Troy O'Brien, I'm the CEO of Response Capture. My job is from everything from setting the strategic initiatives for the organization to also I'm the lead sales guy as well. So forward responsibility from there. My history, I started out in consumer marketing with McDonald's, and one of the things that we learned there, and we talked about a free offer for a racket gear, we learned to never offer your product as an offer. All the operations people told us that because they hated it, because now you can't sell anything. So I would have handcuffed Scott because everybody else out there that wanted a racket to buy it, they would say, no, I'm going to wait for the free offer. So always offer something like a buy now, get those kind of things, or some incentive to educate if you're talking about more considered purchase. Moved on and done a lot of lead generation work for direct mail and interactive agencies, and then over to a company called City, where we work on just improving the process of the marketing operations, and now over Response Capture on ultimately how we help companies grow revenue through relevant marketing.
And one more slide, I think it shows some of the companies we've worked with. Here it is.
Yeah, so 4 years old, and have some big engagements and smaller engagements with some smaller companies, but again, just trying kind of how, through a relevant way, how can we help companies generate leads for their sales force?
And now, next slide, Scott Campbell. Scott's going to talk about his background of various sales.
Right. So I've been very fortunate to be a part of several successful startups in the Portland area. Actually, Roadway was down in Fort Valley, so I'm not sure if any of you remember that. We went public in '97, Acquire was acquired. Jive just went IPO, so I'm hoping the fourth one is a charm as well, Public Labs. Serial startup guy. I usually come in within the first 10 employees within the organization and chief cook and bottle washer. I'll answer the 800 line, make coffee, and do enterprise sales. It's always been B2B sales, so if you ask me any questions about B2C sales, I'm not sure I'm going to be very good at responding to those. Yeah, I've been very fortunate, and it's been a lot of fun in every one of those organizations. We've grown quickly, and we're growing quickly at Public Labs.
How many people are Bubble Labs now?
Let's see, 2.5 years ago, I was the fourth employee, and now we're up to about 70.
Okay. And response capture? 6. And Axium?
85.
85. Okay. Okay, with that, let's jump right in. The first question I want to kind of kick things off is I want to direct this to you, Troy, to have you talk about big picture of the market. When you're working with a new client, how do you look at the market? How do you evaluate what sort of channels they want to go for? And how do you help them track results?
So usually when we start out with an organization, we're talking really around that key buyer that they have. And so really deep, and that's one of the things that we help do a lot is we say not just what information is out there from an SSC standpoint or income or those kind of demographics, but let's really dig deep into the things that they have because there's tools out there today that you can mine more information than you ever thought possible. Tools such as LinkedIn, those kind of stuff where we all have some sort of summary of what we've done in our career, those become great tools to use for targeting as well. So we can say, how do we, from a marketing perspective, let's just spend time on those that are going to be our ideal and have a higher success at getting them over the sales rather than doing what I call spray and pray. Just going out to the masses and assuming that we're going to large numbers, we're going to get some of them. So asking questions early on about who is that person. It's really good the company they work for, if it's a B2B or if it's a person in a B2C. Where do they think about, where are they at in their own buying process? Obviously for rackets, that's usually, it's not necessarily what I would consider a considered purchase. That happens pretty quickly. My racket breaks, I want to go play tennis, those kind of things, and I go buy a different racket. In a B2B sense, that is a longer purchase cycle, and there's more people involved. So you have to think about that whole dynamic. And then what information do they need to make a good decision? Everybody wants to make an educated decision. When we buy things, especially if it's any sort of monetary value that is more than what's in our pocket, there's always a sense of we could have buyer's remorse. So how do you make sure that you educate somebody in a good way that you limit that amount of buyer's remorse after they purchase? They're happy about it, they like it, they're excited, they tell your friends because then the organization can grow if they're working with.
Troy, you have a slide on this. Miss, do you want to go to the next, jump one more slide. Can you talk a little bit about this? I think this is really interesting. You're talking about, products out there, there's all these different ways you can get people in, and there's a different process in the cycle of what information they'll want at the beginning, in the middle, and when they're close to making a purchase. Can you talk a little bit about this slide?
Yeah. So this slide was actually done by some research at Serious Decisions. They're an advisory firm for sales and marketing organizations. And what they did is they went out and surveyed an audience and said, okay, there's a lot of different things out there that you can consume as far as information, but what does the buyer actually want? We're producing all these things, webinars, and white papers, and trade show booths, and all these different things, but what does the buyer want, and when do they want it? And so this is some key information just to help drive in your own organizations, depending on what it is that you're helping market or sell. But one of the things that they saw was early on, the white paper is still working. Now, the one thing I'll say with the white paper is we've gone away from the period of the white paper being a lengthy thing that has 20 pages and it's this big book in print. IDG did a study actually last year that said that the ideal white paper is 7 pages long. And so that's something to think about as you write these things. It's not an novel. It's quick information. We just don't have the time anymore. And then some of the things that you'll see is as you move along, we're peer influenced. That's why social media has this place today, is because we want to know what others think. And so late in sales cycle, we want to know what our peers are doing. What do they buy? Because at the end of the day, when I talk about like buyer's remorse, we want to make sure that if we buy this thing and we go show our friends, that they're going to think good of us, and they're not going to say, why'd you buy that? So that's why we have that influence in the process.
Can you jump to the next slide? This is interesting, and I actually want to get Scott's thoughts on this. So you're pulling in the leads. You're not just doing the, machine gun shot. You're targeting in on people. You're bringing them in. And then I see here you have the sales accepted leads. So can you talk a little bit, Scott, of, Troy's out there bringing these leads in, and he wants, as a marketing guy, he wants to be like, I am awesome. Here's all these hot leads I got for you, right? And you're the sales guy who's going to take these leads, and your team is going to look at, am I closing or not, right? And if you're not closing, that's when you go back and blame the marketing guy for horrible leads, right? So never happens, It's just one happy family, sales and marketing. You guys talk every morning. You're like, for it. So how do you deal with sales qualified leads? And you've been in a lot of different companies and seen different kind of structures. I'm sure you've had like people looking stuff up versus really hot, good leads. How do you start to draw the line in the sand of like good lead, bad lead?
Right. So last couple of companies that I've had worked at, we've had a good brand name. We've had a lot of inbound leads. And it's usually because both Tripwire, for example, Jive, and Public Labs started out as an open source software project. So actually gave away our product for free. So I guess that's a counter example of McDonald's one, right? Just don't do it. Just don't do it. It is hard. It takes a long time. Anyways, so we have a tremendous number of leads coming in, but these are mostly people that want to use the product for free, but they're looking for information support, documentation, just to collaborate with other users in the community, what have you. And those can very often be terrible leads. You don't necessarily even want to contact the people that are using open source software because they tend to be the alpha geeks that, I mean that in the best possible sense, that want to take a product that perhaps is a little raw and use it within the organization. And they don't even like it, it's too polished, and it has a UI and all that kind of stuff. So you have to be very selective in terms of leads. So in the last couple of years, I'd say certainly the last 7 years, and probably more in the last 5 years, it's become very common, at least in the software industry, to lead score, or provide lead scores for leads that come into the organization. So usually driven by marketing, they construct algorithms for how to score leads, and then only feed those appropriate leads that hit a certain lead score to the sales team. And that way, the sales team is working on really well-qualified leads. In the scenario that I talked about earlier, where if you have a high cost of sale, I should say, and you have to involve a lot of people within the organization, a lot of resources in order to close deals, then you only want those leads that are high quality going to the sales team. Otherwise, if they're swimming too far upstream, you're trying too hard early in the process. You need them to actually filter themselves down through the funnel and only attack them when they're ready.
So scoring, Bill, have you done scoring? Have you set scoring up or working with scoring leads?
Yes.
Lead scoring. So did you set it up and say, here's the system? You've actually set it up and said, here's the system, and did marketing take it and go perfect? And sales take it and go, that's perfect?
I think we took the lead on it, but ultimately it's really about getting the salespeople leads that they think are qualified. So I mean, it really is something that, it's not going to be a sales accepted if it's not the type of lead they want. So I mean, the first process is really understanding what is a good lead, what is a qualified lead, and kind of defining that. And then it becomes a process that you work over time. When we first set it, people's lead scores were going up, really high, and we use a marketing automation system, so it happens automatically. We set the criteria based on people's actions on our website or filling out a certain form or that type of thing. And so it's kind of it's a give and take with the sales team, just communicating. All right, was this person actually qualified? Was this criteria that we set actually driving good leads? And just working on that over time. And so over time, that lead score has gotten better and better, where it's a better indicator that when somebody reaches a certain threshold or takes a certain action, we know it's somebody the sales team actually wants to talk to, or vice versa, the person actually wants to talk to a salesperson. We're not just arbitrarily based on a number throwing someone over there, and that person's not actually sales ready. they've reached a certain number because they were hanging out on our website, looking at the careers page, or downloading a bunch of our content because, we're awesome writers or something like that.
The important thing there is that you're constantly going back and saying, is that lead score appropriate? Is that set of activities really score lead, and do they really translate into revenue if they hit that particular score? And in a perfect world, of course, you would take a very scientific kind of survey, you would run it for 6 months, you would see what deals closed, and then tweak that accordingly. But in the real world, of course, where you're painting the moving car, you have to constantly be looking at it on a monthly, even a weekly basis to see, is the lead score appropriate? And going back to sales team, getting anecdotal evidence regarding lead score, and tying it all the way back to revenue as well.
Totally agree, and especially in B2B, the sales cycles are a lot longer, so you kind of have to put your finger to the wind and say, okay, how are we doing? And then, pull your head up regularly and check, okay, we thought these were qualified leads. Sales team said they liked them, but how many of them actually became opportunities? How many of them actually, became sales and actually drove revenue? And then can we see, is there, amongst the people we sent over, is there a smaller section of people who maybe go through the buying process quicker, or, spend more money, or those types of things, and continue to tweak?
For those that are just starting out, though, when we talk about these complex systems and the scoring and all that kind of stuff, I prefer to usually say, do the implicit stuff. Do all the scoring, track all the activity on the website, all that kind of stuff with all these good tools that we have today. But initially, focus on things that you pass to sales based on explicit information. Somebody tells you something. I am now ready to talk to sales, those kind of things. And then you can cross-reference that with the implicit information and scores that you're getting to say what's really right to send over to sales, because as a marketer, our reputation is largely what the sales guy says. And so if we turn things over too early, based on implicit profiles that need some sort of score, we can ruin our reputation pretty fast. And so that's why initially I prefer the explicit things. Watch how that's trending on the implicit, and then when you feel confident about it, that's when you start sending things from the implicit over to sales and say, here, we think this is good too.
Right, so you don't gate it initially, send everything over to sales, and then track it, and then as you figure out what that algorithm is, then you actually do sales ready, if you will, and start to gauge which leads go to which reps. The thing that Puppet Labs that I think is interesting that we've done in regard to lead scoring is actually go out to a number of what we would consider to be industry leaders in this field. I'm not going to go through who it was, but we actually interviewed about 3 different companies with regard to lead scoring. And they said one of the challenges was that sales and marketing would always fight over what actually was a well-scored lead. So now it's not, is that a good quality lead, and you're fighting over what a quality lead is. You're fighting over how to score the lead. So you just kind of shifted the problem. And so what many of these organizations are doing, and I think to your point, Troy, is actually identifying a single part in the selling or the buying process that a lead will go through. And if they do that, that triggers the sales ready lead automatically. It's a binary actually scored, 0 to 1. You still actually can track scores in terms of who goes to what pages, if they go to wiki pages versus pricing pages, all that kind of stuff. But we've actually gone to, we've changed the way we do it and gone to that binary score where if they download the enterprise version of our product, automatically they are sales ready. And that's eliminated a lot of the argument about what is a well-scored lead, what constitutes a good score.
You guys have mentioned using some tools, some are sophisticated, some are basic. I wonder if we could just kind of rip through and throw out a couple names and a sentence of what they do. Marketing automation tools, scoring tools, what?
We use Marketo to do lead scoring. It's not inexpensive, but it's extremely powerful, extremely capable of growing to any size of the organization. Actually, Hal right back there actually did the implementation. We tied that into Salesforce, customized fields. It's really a fairly straightforward process at this point. It requires a lot of effort and time to tweak accordingly and make sure the leads are routed to the appropriate place. But we're pretty tried and true.
Troy or Bill? Marketo. Marketo. So Troy or Bill, someone that does not have a Marketo budget.
We use a free tool. It's called Loop. Well, it's free today because we don't have a large database. So it's a tool called LoopFuse. LoopFuse. And so if you have a database under 2,500, and that's how we actually put into it. Just these are the ones that we would actively work on. It's a free. Now they're giving their product away. They're having a hard time converting this into the paid subscription and use it and pay for their paid subscription, or go to one of the bigger tools that Scott's talking about, that Bill has experience with.
Okay. Bill, you're a Marketo guy, yeah?
I'm a Marketo guy. We looked at a lot of different tools this last year and then selected Marketo and implemented it. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's a really nice email tool, and that's kind of its primary function. I mean, the sales team gets some insight into what their people are doing on the web that they can see right on Salesforce records. So there's some additional tracking for the sales team. There's a landing page application, so you can drive traffic from social media or direct mail or anything to that. And then when people fill out forms, it automatically pushes people over to Salesforce, that type of thing. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's a really nice email tool.
So, Bill, can you have real hands-on the strategy side of things, cultivating these leads. Can you talk a little bit about how lead generation has changed in bringing in digital leads? Where, for your company, Axium, where is the sweet spot? What are some trends that you've seen change over time?
Sure. Actually, I have a slide on that. I don't know if it's in the deck at all. Right here. So one of the things Kevin said he didn't want to do too much of was get into the tactics. So the first thing I did was run out and get a slide about tactics. And so if you look here, a lot of the top tactics for B2B. This is from the 2012 marketing Sherwood benchmark report. A good portion of them, almost all of them, are digital related. So this just hit the internet. It's not going anywhere. But one of the things I think that I find interesting, and I put the data down below, is that as much as people talk about social media, and our company did definitely jump into it and test it, and we target largely the baby boom generation. So when you talk about a different channel, it's really about testing at the end of the day. And where do your buyers hang out? I mean, when it comes to social media, for example, the saying goes, find your tribe and go where they go. So for us, we have baby boom generation people. Hanging out on Twitter is probably not what they're doing most of their time. So, I mean, yes, we have a presence there, and the value for search is still kind of unknown, but it's not something we spend a lot of our time doing, and that's because we've tested it and we haven't found that there's an easy way for us to connect it back to revenue. And guys like Scott, there's a couple of things they can always understand, and that's leads and revenue. So, as a marketer, you have to be careful with how much stuff do we want to do in the branding category or in things that we think are the future of where the market's going, and how much time are we going to spend on the things that we know are actually going to deliver the results that we're looking for. So, I mean, search, continues to be something that's really important. I think the cost of it, is not going down. I think it's still very competitive. But at the end of the day, I think it's a tried and true tactic in digital that's not going away.
So social media, no. I hear all this hype about it.
For us, I mean, I'm not going to say someone else shouldn't be there or should be there. I would say that it's important for you to test it. And again, one of our main targets is baby boom generation. So we found that some people are on LinkedIn. I mean, there's sources out there you can go to. You can upload your database in there. There's one called Rapleaf. There's another one called Flowtown. And you can go put a percentage of your database in there, and it'll actually tell you, are these people on social networks and which ones are they on? And they have some sort of algorithm that matches based on company name and email address. So you can see, like, okay, are a bunch of my people on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, or where are they? And then you can try to go to that area and actually test it.
Okay, so it's not a social media no, it's really dependent on the brand. Right. But, when companies are looking at carving up their marketing lead gen budgets, right? And when they're a company where it's not focused so much on PR and brand building, but it's like, bring me my leads, right? How much of that size of the budget are you seeing going to something like social media versus email marketing, automation, campaign tracking, etc.?
Troy, you want to take that one?
2 years ago, there was a study done, I think it was by the CMO Institute, and they were asking the CMOs of large organizations what they were going to do. And they were going to allocate 10% of their budget at that point to social media. That was 2 years ago. And they were also, the belief was it was also going to be a tracking medium that they were going to be able to say, if I allocate 10% of my budget to social media, I would expect that I'm going to be able to track what revenues would come out of it. Now, the question is, when they didn't survey the next year, what would the answer on that? And did that be a trend? I think one of the things that you were sharing here is when they asked year over year in this study, if I remember reading it right.
Yeah, down below it shows kind of the people that rated in 2011 social media was very effective with 16%, and then 2012 was 6%, so that's a 62% drop, and then same thing with somewhat effective, 59% in 2011, and then 2012 at 40%. So you see that the trend is going downward as far as B2B marketers that are saying that social media is very effective or somewhat effective from a lead generation standpoint.
There's a fine line. What was it Andy Warhol talks about? There's a fine line between social networking and then wasting your, you had to comment to that, but wasting your life. So kind of things. You guys look at what's it doing? Yeah. What's it doing to your organization? Do your organizations, what's it doing for the sales, those kind of things? I mean, there's great case studies out there. Dell, about they have their e-commerce store, they can put out specials and that kind of thing. Comcast using it from a support mechanism and all that kind of stuff to get on it for the brand and make sure that it's tool that for lead generation, it's one channel of many. We'll share a bunch of different channels that are out there. So I wouldn't rely on those tools that he's talking about. Rapid doesn't do it as much anymore, but there's another one called FlipTop. It is doing the social profile. So we've done analysis with a few of our customers up ahead and said, okay, they want to get into social media because it's the hype. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur as far as starting response capture and other new ventures, and so we have this shiny object syndrome. As marketers, we're no different. It's the new shiny object, social media. Let's all jump on that bandwagon because it's exciting. We don't just want to keep sending emails and making calls and sending direct mail, those kind of things. So what we've been doing is saying, okay, let's take some analysis first. What Bill was talking about, he did the same thing with his company and say, of an audience that you want to go after, we know what the core buyer is. We can take their customers and say, here's our ideal customer. Let's do some work to say how many of those actually have social media profiles. And what profiles are they using? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? And then how are they using it? We can go look and do a little bit of web scraping, that kind of stuff to say, are they just talking about what their day is? Or are they actually talking about business stuff here? So that's how you can see if this is right for you. Even prior to even getting in and testing, you can do a little bit of research first.
Scott, how many years have you been doing sales?
17, 18, something crazy like that.
17 years. Okay, so how has, generally speaking, sales teams had to change and adapt to deal with digital leads versus old school print?
Wait, you aging me there?
Let's talk about the print there.
Yeah, I get that. So, what I think when I consider that, because I think about that a lot, it mostly comes down to phone, right? Do you use the phone? Do you actually talk to customers and try to sell to them? And increasingly, that the percentage of the time you need to do that is going down and down and down. You got social media where you can sell, build your brand through mediums like that, online forums, Twitter, Facebook, what have you. But you've also got email, just plain old email, and specifically with the target audience that I've been selling into most of the last 17 years. Emails work just fine. People like email, they can deal with it on their own time, it's not super corruptive, they don't have to talk to a nasty sales guy, they can actually get on with their business and get questions answered. So it's frustrating to a certain extent as a sales executive because I want the sales team to be building relationships with people, and it's hard to do that with email. But I think with the augmentation of social media, you can do that electronically, but it is more difficult. You don't have the opportunity to learn a lot about your clients' needs and really dive into that deeply, which I think is it's becoming more and more of a lost art from a sales perspective.
Mobile. I want to talk about mobile for a second. I don't know if anyone read the case study about Texaco, the UK grocer. Last year did a pretty extensive run in Seoul, Korea, putting up print ads at bus stops and subways of food sitting on a shelf where you could log into their app. The app is called the Home Plus mobile app, in case anyone wants to see it. And you could buy your food right there while you're standing waiting for the bus from the digital shelf. And if you ordered it before 1 o'clock in the morning, it was delivered to your house that day. And so, you're looking at leads getting generated through mobile, and you're looking at now, and Bill, on your slide, which I thought was really interesting, was this web design, like the importance of this web design. So now you're looking at responsive web design so that websites don't just shrink down to an oblivion, you have to try and make them bigger, but they actually collapse nicely so you have a nice user experience on a device like this. So I'm just curious on the side of digital leads, what is that, Troy, maybe this is for you. What are you seeing with clients? How much are they asking for mobile? You know, I was talking to someone today, and everyone keeps saying, yeah, next year is the year for mobile, and next year's year, and it just sort of seems that that sort of keeps going, and they're not really doing it. Even though we all are waking up in the morning, and if you leave without this thing, your day is like absolutely shot. So what does mobile mean now for digital leads, and what should big companies and small companies be thinking about as they move forward with their digital leads development?
I'll take it, sure. Well, I think first of all, just saying that because we all have handheld devices that you need to have a mobile site is crazy. I mean, the cost right now of developing a mobile site or a mobile app is still pretty high, and that's why companies like CrowdCompass exist, is because they're lowering the barrier to entry to be able to create a mobile app for your event, for example. But I mean, first and foremost, go into your analytics and see what people are actually doing on your site from a mobile standpoint. If you can see, or if you're like a lot of B2B companies, you're not a big brand, a lot of people are standing outside your office trying to figure out where you're at, so they're on their contact us page, or they just want to give you a phone call. So there can be certain aspects of your website that you might want to make mobile accessible. For example, if you use WordPress as your blog, which a lot of people do, you can add a plugin very easily and all of your content gets converted over to mobile related content. Maybe they want to come to your site and consume some of that content, but they don't necessarily need to see your full on site. At least the cost of to provide the full site to them from a mobile standpoint doesn't make sense. With the advent of things like HTML5, what we're seeing now is that you can very easily make these fluid sites that go from whether you have a big monitor or regular size monitor all the way down to a mobile device. But I was at an event not that long ago, and I was sitting in on some really fantastic developers were talking about creating sites for different experiences. And one of the guys was from the W Hotels, and if you've ever been to their website, beautiful brand, amazing website, awesome hotels. And he was talking about how he starts out first by building a mobile site because he doesn't want to take a regular site, have to neuter it down to something that'll work on mobile. And I was listening to him, and I was totally buying into what he said. Then I went to his mobile site, and I was like, this isn't even that great. So, I mean, and I don't mean that because he was fantastic. His site was beautiful and everything, but I just think that the cost and the experience is still not quite there yet to make it make sense for a lot of brands, especially from a B2B standpoint. If you're a bigger company and you're seeing a lot of people coming there, then I think it's time to start thinking about how do we create an experience that works for people because they want to use it in that medium.
So,
I think that the trend that you're talking about, and we're talking about, is last year was the year that mobile devices outsold the PC. And so they see those kind of sales numbers and you say, okay, we have to go there, kind of thing. But same kind of thing that Bill's talking about as far as the cost to develop. I mean, I saw a study that it said that $75,000 to build a mobile app is what you should allocate if that's what you want to do and do it well. That's costly. Now, I know there's developers out there that says I can hack this out tonight. Do it well as far as a real mobile site that you want to do transactions and things like that. So what we're doing a lot of now when we get into design of emails and landing pages and stuff like that is look at how we do the sizes so they'll render well on mobile as far as the buttons that have to be a certain size of pixels and those kind of things so that whether it's an email that we're sending out on behalf of our clients or it's going to be received on the mobile, it's still going to be able to be used on a mobile device, but not necessarily dividing all campaigns today and saying, okay, we're going to do this portion mobile and this portion mobile. The other question is you start asking your audience, how do you want to view this?
right, find out the answer from your clients.
And you're seeing, I mean, I don't know if anyone else likes to click on ads. I do. I get really clicky. I just click on stuff just to see what it does. So, you see ads get served on mobile, and you click them, and you see that people are doing things like what they call squeeze funnel, where you go into a page and it's mobile ready. There's a little bit of content, and then there's a very easy form that even me with my big fat fingers, I can get in there and fill it out very easily, rather than having to try to expand and get closer and actually try to make something happen on there. So, yeah.
So people who are building sites now, and you guys tell me if you disagree with this, is if you're building a website right now, and at a minimum, you're not making it responsive design that can collapse and fit nicely on any device, or having a mobile version, you're just insane. Because in a year or two from now, like, good luck, you got to redo the site in 12 months. Like, anyone who I've talked to that's building a site that's not doing the mobile or responsive is like just absolutely wasting their time. That's what I think. You guys agree or disagree?
I'd go back to the audience, but not all your audience is there. Depends on who you're targeting. If your audience is an older audience that is still using a lot of PC, I mean, my dad right now, he does not have a smartphone. So it doesn't care to him. It doesn't matter. He just started doing text messages. So if somebody was targeting my dad, he's not going to care if it's a mobile website.
Right.
If he ever pulls up a website, it's going to be on a PC. Right? Those kind of things. So
Does he like tennis, right?
But will your dad have a smartphone?
maybe. But
I mean, you look at the sales. You look at the sales that crossed over, right? So now mobile phones have outpaced the desktop. So now project that forward and look at the rate of growth on that.
Yeah, I think that he's going to get to the point of retirement where he doesn't really care anymore. I'm not buying that much, so I don't need to look at these things on my daily lives.
But other generations will,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
So it depends on who you're targeting.
Exactly. That's what you're asking. Would my dad ever care? No.
I still think your dad's gonna get one. We're gonna have a meeting in a year from now. Trump's coming. We're gonna look at his phone.
He just started doing email last year, and it's like this.
Interesting experience. I was getting my hair cut by a 24-year-old, and we were talking about PCs and that kind of stuff. And she said, "Oh, I don't have a PC." And I said, "Well, do you have a Mac?" I said, "No, I don't have a computer." And I said, "Well, how do you get around? What do you do?" She said, "Well, I got a smartphone. That's all I need." And I was flabbergasted. Between her and her boyfriend, they did not have a PC or a computer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, they do.
I met someone tonight that didn't have a phone, which I thought was awesome. Okay, landing pages 3.0. Gimmick or reality?
Well, go to the slide so we can frame this up.
Okay, Bill's got a quote. Bill, read this quote out for us.
Well, I still have nightmares. Can you go back to the quote? I wanted to share this with everyone else because this gives me nightmares when I read it. But it kind of just talks about the future of where we're going from a digital standpoint and kind of conversions of all these different things. And I think we've been touching on all of those. But I think this is where we're headed eventually. I mean, I think because the younger generation is going to continue to consume more products and come into the business world, and you meet a lot of these younger people, and the way they communicate is over social media. They don't have an email address, and until somebody forces them to get one, they're not going to have one. So, I mean, I do think that this is the future. I think what we've been talking about tonight is how soon does your company have to go there is a totally different question, and what's cost effective for you, and what's going to drive revenue today. I mean, Scott probably doesn't want his marketers out doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. It's not going to bring leads, this month or this quarter. I mean, salespeople are traditionally very focused on, the next deal. They have to have short memories and, be focused on kind of the here and now. And so, you can't ever take your eye off of the ball today for the future.
So what is this? You're looking at, traditional landing page, right? There's a school of thought of, is this a landing page? I got someone to come there, whether it was organic search or pay-per-click. They're at that page, and, if you take it at like a base level, it's either, integrate the experience into the website, so it fits really nicely, and they can go back into the website and dive in. And then other people are like, no, remove the nav bars, trap them on this landing page. They either fill out that page or like they're gone, right? And I mean, what is this landing? You're looking at landing page 3.0. Now you're dealing with, they could be coming from other sources. You're looking at putting social media buttons on there. Like, what is it? What do you really? Give us like a solid example of thoughts on it.
Oh, the landing page?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what you touched on as far as not having your regular navigation, I mean, I think it's something that can be very effective because you kind of force them to either convert or leave. When you send them to your regular website, they can click around and go anywhere they want, and that's why putting them into a pure conversion funnel is very effective. You touched on kind of the integration of social media and those types of things. I think we are seeing more and more of that, but I think the pure digital marketers, still love their landing pages and still don't want to give the buyer a place to go. So
no nav bar.
I'm a no nav guy.
You're a no nav guy. Are you a no nav guy?
I'm a no nav guy, but we do in some cases we'll use social media from a proof standpoint. So at the point of any sort of conversion, there's a little bit of anxiety that you might have. It says, do I really want to click that button? What's going to happen? Is Scott going to call me up right away? Those kind of things. And so what we've done is media shares and those kind of things, and we'll put them on our landing page, or maybe it is a little Facebook app where you can say, there's a bunch of people that have liked this or shared this or those kind of things, and then you remove a little bit of that anxiety from somebody, some of the friction that they're going to have of actually filling out that information and click it. And so that's what I see happening, but that's the kind of navigation we'll put on there, but not to say, splashing with 40 different offers and say do this, do that. I mean, we need to be focused, especially if you're on a mobile device, and linear flow down to what the point is. We just don't have time. What is it? That you got 15 words essentially before somebody bails on your website. So make sure that you have a solid 15 words in a big headline at the beginning, because if you don't, they're gone.
Scott, you a no nav guy?
No opinion.
You're like, I don't care, bring me leads. Okay. Yeah.
I go to the page.
Right, okay. Any questions from the audience?
What about specific microphone right over here?
Let's grab Bill, you the mic man. Can you say your name and company?
Sure, Scott Edwards with Global Testing. So you talked about social media on the landing page, but what about as far as replacing a form or using that social media information to fill in a form, so they just click the button, all their information is pre-populated in there, and also then for account creation, even in a B2B context, do B2B people still use social media logins just to make it easier for them?
So you're talking about, you come to a landing page on a website, do you want to give someone the Facebook login instead of making them actually fill out the form?
Or a choice, and if they were given a choice, which one do you find people want to use it now?
If you were given a choice, well, first of all, anyone up here use landing pages with a social media login option?
I don't know. It's an interesting.
I have not. We've been talking with a company here in town about testing it with them, and I've given them some of our landing pages to try that out, to see which one they would choose. We do use the pre-population that's built into to Marketo, so whatever data you have on them, if you put that on the form, it automatically fills in there. You might only ask them for a question or two. And Troy touched on some of those principles, whether it's anxiety or friction. If you don't have this giant form and you're not asking for really personal information, the chances of conversions go way up. So I personally do see the value in the Facebook style thing. I think that people will do something that's quicker, and I think anytime you put up any type of gate or hurdle, you're going to get people drop off. I think the real secret to that, where the value really comes in, is yes, it increases conversions, but why a company like Jan Rain exists is that there are companies out there who want that social media data. So by using that Facebook sign-in, a lot of data from Facebook is going to come off into a repository for that company, so they can then know more about you than even what you gave them on the form, and then they can actually segment against that. So they can go and say, okay, all the people who filled out the form, I want to know, I want to do a specific campaign with additional information we got from Facebook.
And this is a company like Janrain to clarify that. You push the button and normally the pop-up comes up and you say, do you accept? And you never read it and you say yes. And companies like Janrain have the technology that, like, well, if you actually read it, it said, we can pull this, all this information from your profile and suck it into our database. So, I mean, it seems to me that moving forward, that's an incredible option. It's just not, it seems to me, and you guys can answer this, it's just not as easy to do. You put up a form in WordPress, you look at the Salesforce, it goes in, you have your lead scoring, whereas, you're going to make that step to put like a Janrain technology in. It's completely doable, but it's not really a super easy off-the-shelf thing. It's a process to go through, which is why you don't see it as much right now, I think.
Well, there's going to be a cost because they're going to help you increase conversions, and they're going to provide you that extra data. So you have to test it. I think ultimately is what it comes back to. I mean, if people are using it and they're willing to use that and you get more conversions as a result. I mean, it's classic. Have one page with it, one page without it, some sort of A/B test, and see how many people are electing to use that versus just filling out the regular form. And then if you've got a use for the social data, you can get back there's some value attached to that. So the cost of implementing the technology, but I think it's pretty easy once you work with them. They handhold you through the process. You just put an embedded object right on the landing page, and then you can use it very easily. So it's just kind of a does it make sense for my business to have that data, and what are we going to do with it once we have it? Because data is great, but it's more about what you do with it.
Too much information, TMI. So that's the problem. You get all this data, and now you have to do something.
I'm curious. It's just
we tested it, but it was not in an obvious place, so I feel like the results are skewed versus it was not a 50-50 test.
yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
on, see, usually they'll have 30% higher conversion rate if you pre-populate, so you're kind of doing the same thing. My fear, I would have some own anxiety, is I don't know if my Facebook data into something else. So that's, if I was part of your campaign, I would respond.
You would have lost him. You would have lost Troy. Chuck, or let's see, Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff Bunch with Northwest Natural Products for gummy vitamin people. I've worked in both agency settings and B2C and B2B work with B2B clients. And as a defender of social media and a digital marketer, I think the big distinction is that B2B. And I think if you had a landing page in a B2B setting that had Facebook login authentication, I mean, we're all in the marketing business or the business world know what that means. And we're not going to give, as much as I like Bill and his company, I'm not going to give them, access to all the pictures of me holding my kid at the coffee shop or where it has nothing to do with business. But have you guys, in particular, worked LinkedIn? Because it seems like there's a big B2B focus up here. And have you had successes on LinkedIn that you could maybe share nuggets with us?
First of all, I'd like to say that Joy's dad would use the Facebook, but
He does not have Facebook.
he does not have Facebook. Okay, maybe he would. Okay, LinkedIn. What's going on with LinkedIn? Lead gen off of LinkedIn.
Well, we have seen LinkedIn work for us. I mean, certainly our salespeople use it. I actually heard somebody suggest the other day that if you kind of run out of questions on your progressive profile, that you can actually stick, something like a LinkedIn profile into the form itself. It's not something we've tested yet. But the way these CRMs are going is that you have something like LinkedIn, directly there for the salesperson to be able to access. That they have more data about that person on the front end before they even give them a phone call. They don't have to go out and look for their LinkedIn profile. So that's something I'm curious to test. But we have done some campaigns. I always kind of find like with Facebook and with LinkedIn, they get you very close to your buyer. They don't always get you right to your buyer sometimes. It's kind of this whole likes and interests model where it's like, okay, the person's involved in, for me, architecture. But I don't necessarily need to sell directly to an architect. Or in Facebook, they like architecture, but it doesn't make them an architect. So it's an interesting model. When LinkedIn added the ability for us to be able to run ads within groups, we actually did see a pretty big lift there. And that's because we were able to go into our competitors' groups. So we had certain groups that we knew, people were in that we wanted to talk with, and we couldn't get into those groups, our salespeople couldn't. But then all of a sudden they made it valuable when they made it possible for us to be able to get in there and run ads against it. One of the challenges with LinkedIn is that if you want anything other than a text ad, you want to have actual display ad with a graphic, you have to commit $25,000 to that. So we've done a little bit of testing and it's worked a little bit, but we've never really made the jump to say, okay, this has worked well enough that we really want to make that type of investment.
I know Troy's company has some experience doing some different stuff with LinkedIn as well.
We use it a lot from more of the information perspective as far as get context. Really, that's a good source to get context. Now, you're not going to get all the information that you want. You're not going to get direct phone numbers and emails and stuff like that, but there's other places to get that information and then augment the information that you can get through LinkedIn. So if you want to get very specific about, when we start talking with customers about who do they want to target, some of them say, well, I need to find somebody that's Cisco certified and this level and this kind of thing as well. LinkedIn becomes a good source for that type of information to where we can start to build a list to say, here's the audience out there that meets this profile. Now, we can actually get those names from LinkedIn or something like that and then go use some more other tools to augment the information for a sales prospecting list.
Scott, how often are your sales team on LinkedIn?
All day.
All day.
It's a killer app on the sales side.
So what are your marketing people doing? Why do they have to be there?
Why do they have to be there?
Yeah. What are they doing?
They maintain the public user groups, for example. They respond, or other people within the organization respond to the discussion threads. So people, they'll use it like a tech support forum in those groups. We've started to do some advertising. Apparently, I don't know how that's going. Apparently, it's going quite well. We're getting good pull on the advertising on LinkedIn. Again, I'm not a marketer, so I can't really give any details on that. From a sales perspective, though, it's really, we'll get all the time, John Smith at AT&T downloaded our product. We have no idea if they're a decision maker or not, how high they are in the food chain. So I'd say from a sales perspective, 80% of the value is just looking at the title of the person you're talking to. Because if you get them on the phone, if you engage them in the conversation, they always say that they're the decision maker, right?
Yeah.
But it's rarely actually the case, especially if they're downloading the product.
So then the line, what you say, when someone says they're a decision maker, you say, oh, that's great. So if you like everything I say right now and it hits your goals, you can pull the trigger on this right now. And they always go, oh no, actually I'd have to call in my other boss. And then you figure out actually who they are and you get it on the phone. So we have one more question from Chuck.
This question is based off of
Name,
Chuck Disselberg, CK Consulting. This question is based off of a comment Scott made about the barber. From the conversation you had with the barber, you learned that whole new different culture aspect exists. And so that made me think of international, how different countries have adopted phone and phone use and applications much stronger and earlier than we have here in the United States. Based on that, what kind of trends do you see from a sales or digital leads aspect occurring international that we might learn from here domestically?
From a global perspective or just from international? I don't have much in the way to come of mobile and international. But I do think it's remarkable, like the last couple of companies that I've been at, the amount of international business we're doing at such a small size. Within the digital age that we're in, with the footprint you can portray in any sort of social media way and building up a brand. You know, we're doing business in China, we're doing more business in Australia than we are in California, for example. It's just remarkable to me how we're able to do that. Last quarter we sold $25,000 software to a company in Venezuela. And that's just, again, I think it's astounding. I think if you're not thinking about international and how to approach that from a strategic perspective, once you've started to get some traction, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
I think there's a different expectation that you have too international. Some of the programs that we do for our clients, we see a lot better response and conversion rates in the international campaigns than we do the US ones. So US for 3,000 messages a day, we're seeing that. And they're reading more emails that we're seeing, some especially in China and Asia Pacific countries. From an information perspective, though, it's different because, like you said, the infrastructure that they build, they would not build a landline infrastructure. It's a mobile infrastructure that they're building. So direct out numbers in the office and those kind of things, we don't have. So it's not as readily available out there. It's more mobile numbers, and them giving out a mobile number, not going to happen as often. Same thing with emails. You're not going to see as many corporate emails on the registration forms and things like that that they give, or that they're actually using on a daily basis. And it's because of the policies that they have, as far as how emails used in and outside the business. And so look for more of the personal emails, as well as when you get numbers, they're going to be the mobile phone. And so in the whole approach and how you approach them, you got to be careful.
So just to wrap it up, what I would like to do is kind of just run through the panel here, and I'd like to know, can you give one tip for the entrepreneur / small to mid-sized business of what they should think about? If it's a digital lead, talk about digital lead, sales. So one tip of something that everyone can walk away tonight, and the second thing is one reading source. A book you've read, a blog you love, something that people can go grab onto. And I'm going to start with Bill.
Well, I think you can build the greatest website in the world, but if nobody can find it, then it's useless. So I would say, at the end of the day, you still have to be good in the search engine so people can find you. But I think, besides that, I think one of the things that I see small businesses really underutilized is the knowledge that they have, just getting that up on the web. A lot of these people are experts and they love what they do, but they don't take the time to actually put that down on paper and write a blog or create some content and show that expertise so that when people come to their site, there's something, if they're not necessarily ready to go straight to the contact us page and fill out a form or call them right away, they want to kind of look around for a second. There's some sort of content there that shows that, hey, this person is an expert and somebody I can trust that knows what they're doing. From a reading source standpoint, I'm a huge fan of Unbalance's blog. They do a really good job of being entertaining. It's very graphically oriented and just lots of great tips. I mean, kind of the saying goes in content marketing is like the best type of content is that seeks to make your buyer successful. And I think they do a really good job of that. They have a landing page platform, so they talk a lot about landing pages, but they're not shoving their platform in your face all the time. They're constantly talking about tips on landing pages, but they go outside of that as well. So I really enjoy kind of how colorful it is, and would recommend it.
The biggest thing I to avoid the time waste. And to avoid the time waste, spend the time up front to really define who it is your audience that you want to go after. And then work those. And only get a defined list of emails from a consumer basis or from a B2B basis. And right now, in our organization, we're working 250 accounts. That's what we're going for. So we have a very focused list because we're all limited by time. And if we waste our time, then we've wasted a lot of enemy's resources. So do the homework up front to really find that. As far as information from a small and medium-sized business, I think that is a good resource that you mentioned, Bill. HubSpot does a good job of being more broad and not just talking about landing pages and conversion rates, but they talk about the handoff between marketing and sales, and they do a really good job of putting the information out there. And as part of their company is to be a very rich content organization to push that out there. And then if you think good about their content, then maybe they'll use their software. So I like a lot of theirs for small and medium-sized businesses.
It's HubSpot.
HubSpot.
What was Bill's recommendation for reading?
I said unbalanced.
Unbalanced.
Yeah.
On the sales front, I would say the best recommendation I can make is to, as soon as you can, as you're building your sales organization, segregate off responsibilities. I think a lot of early companies hire sales reps that are fairly experienced, and they expect them to do everything from lead qualification to hunting and closing new deals to working big enterprise class deals to maintenance of accounts and making sure the clients are happy after the sale is made. The sooner that you can segregate those responsibilities, the better off you're going to be and much more effective, much more efficient in the selling process. It's a little bit more expensive up front, but the results are going to be much better. The book that I like is, from a selling perspective, Spin Selling.
Ah, I knew you were going to say that. I love that book. I bought the handbook, the workbook that goes with it.
It's all fantastic. The training courses are great. It's easy. It doesn't overcomplicate the sales process. It's grounded in data where the author, I don't remember his name right now, but did a tremendous amount of research on the selling process and traveled around with sales reps and interviewed buyers and how they like to be sold to and that sort of thing. Spin is not, you're trying to shuck and jive and then trick them into buying something. Spin stands for a situation, problem, implication, need, and it gives you a guide to a conversation with the prospect, so you fully understand what their need is, and you're selling to that need. You're identifying the pain and selling to it. So, anyways, it's a great primer on sales.
It's by Neil Brennan.
Neil, there you go.
Yeah, and for those folks that are doing more large scale things, he also has a book of major account selling too. It's pretty good.
What's it called?
Major account selling.
Major account selling.
Yes.
Okay.
Same author, Neil Brennan.
Okay.
And that's more like longer considered purchase, not transactional selling like that.
Okay. Well, great. A couple quick things. We have a drawing for an incredible fence tracker. It comes with the ball. It's only been used for 2 summers. Scott, I'm going to let you... Jeff, can you grab the racket around the corner there? If there's a ball still around, can you grab that?
And the winner is Spencer.
Spencer! Come on down! Come on down! Yeah! Let's see, swing it! Yeah!
I'll tell you why I filled out why I put the card in there.
Yeah, wait, I need the microphone for this. This is going on.
On video.
So Spencer was one of the 4 people who actually put their card in here for a free tennis racket. Why did you put it in there?
Because Kevin asked me to.
Man, he's an unqualified lead.
Well, I do like that. But I've been coming to these since Kevin started. So he's someone I know. So there we go.
He's a good lead.
Yeah.
How long I told you to call?
That peer influence, he's late in the buying process, and so he had a peer influence.
Yeah, peer influence. Okay. So just real quick, next Innovation in Motion, we meet on the first Thursday of every month. Next month is going to be the social media leap of faith. We're going to dive into some more detail that we touched upon and how companies are using social media to build brand, possibly generate marketing leads. Mobile Marketing Madness is happening in April, and in May, Video Killed the Radio Star. Make sure not to miss that. We have great speakers lined up. Just lastly, We're going to gather around here, and anyone wants to go downstairs and have a drink, you're welcome to. We usually hang out there for a couple hours. Special thanks to Paul Colette for filming. If you ever need filming needs, talk to Paul. And special thanks to Crowd Compass for hosting Innovation in Motion. Thanks, everybody.